Okay, welcome to the Milwaukee Bucks on Tap podcast, episode 10. Corey Moen, Evan Byrne. Evan, the Bucks had a decent week. Went 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
Had games against Dallas. Had a game against
New York.
Sorry, let me try that again. So had a
Good
game
old
against
Knicks.
Dallas. Had a game against New York. Had a game against Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with the game against the Dallas Mavericks last Sunday. Little Sunday matinee there at 7 p.m. Bucks won that game 124-115. When I watched that game, I described that game was on crack because it was so high scoring. At the end of the first half, for example, the Milwaukee was up 73-62, and then at the end of the third, they were up 104-96. Both teams shot over 50% from the field and both hit 17 three-pointers. So, Evan, my question to you, what do you make of Milwaukee's performance against Dallas?
I think overall, offensive-wise, clearly we could see that they were working together, especially the starters. The bench was a little iffy on scoring, Bobby being the highest scorer with 15, but otherwise no one else had higher than 5. But it looked a lot more intact, I would say. They were hitting the shots that they need to, and some of the shots that they were making were some shots that usually they're not going to be making. If you want to mention Grayson Allen, started off the game 7 for 7 on 3-pointers.
Yep.
And I felt like every single time he shot, I was like stiff, and then he made it, and then it was a relaxing shot. But some of those shots that he took were pretty risky and pretty deep 3-pointers. And I know he's gotten a lot better at those, but it was shots that he felt more comfortable with. So he went 7 for 7 in the first half and only took one more 3 later in the game, which almost could have gone in, but it did not. But he was a huge scorer for them. And I think one of the key players to kind of lead them to that win outside of Giannis, obviously.
Yeah. And you just brought up Grayson Allen. He unfortunately, so he had a great first half. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Unable to replicate it in the second half. I think Dallas did a great job of kind of keying in on him. I think they were like, we're letting Grayson Allen get way too many open looks because he had over 20 points in the first half.
Yep.
Unable to do it in the second. Obviously, Giannis had a big game. And look, for Dallas, I mean, really, the only thing I could really describe it as is okay, so Luka had 27, Spencer Dinwiddie had 22, and then kind of surprising, not so surprising, is that Christian Wood.
Yes, I was going to mention that later. It's a very weird situation that they have. I feel like so many Mavs fans want him to start, but they keep starting Dwight Powell, who only played 8 minutes.
And it's weird because Christian Wood is listed as a center. I thought he'd be more listed as a forward, but
yep.
Yeah, I don't understand why they're starting Dwight Powell. I think they like what Dwight Powell brings in terms of defense. He has experience on that team. He's lanky, can block shots. But Christian Wood is starting to turn into that guy.
That the Bucks got rid of, and I don't know why, and I'm just going to throw it out there. Obviously, it was a few years before they won, but it was like we knew he was going to be good, so they got rid of him. But I'm glad that he's actually doing well, though. I was a fan of his. But, yeah, looking at that, they have Christian Wood and JaVale McGee on the bench, and both are listed as centers. And Maxi Kleber is their only, power forward outside of Finney Smith. So, a little weird, listing-wise, but Dwight Powell, I just always read, why are they starting him over Christian Wood? But maybe it's just better because they don't have as good of a bench. Because looking at their scores, it's not very good outside of Christian Wood. So that would be my biggest guess, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, Dallas can't be surprised. We've lived through the Jason Kidd experience. He can be pretty stubborn with his rotations.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, goodness, you know how many games we had to sit through and watch Michael Carter-Williams try to run our offense, or OJ Mayo as our point guard, he's gotten better as a coach. Okay, I will say that about Jason Kidd. He's gotten better as a coach because it felt like because it felt like every time we lost, it's just we're young. Like he just always blamed it. That was part of the reason
they're developing. Yeah,
is that he just always blamed. Well, we're young. We're too young. We're too inexperienced. And eventually, I first of all, kind of throwing your young guys under the bus wasn't a good move, but also like our defense like fell off a cliff, despite the fact that I feel like we had some very capable defenders during his tenure, but that trap defense they did worked the first year, didn't work in the years after. So, look, the kid's gotten better, but look, he could be very stubborn in this rotation. So Dallas, I understand. I understand why they're feeling the way that they are, but I think that in Christian Wood's sake, it's just hard to build a team around Luka Doncic.
Mm-hmm.
It just is, because they tried the Kristaps Porzingis experiment, that didn't work.
Nope.
Jalen Brunson worked someone in the playoffs. Like Jalen Brunson had a very good playoffs last year. Obviously, earned a bag from New York.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, how do you build around a guy like Luka Doncic? Because he has the ball in his hand like 90% of the time.
Yeah, and he's a point guard with like a small forward type body, so he can like cover so many positions. I like to think of them as like the Los Angeles Angels of the NBA. You got like one of the greatest players ever, but you don't get any help outside of 2 or 3 guys consistently, like Dinwiddie and Christian Wood. Dorian Finney-Smith's kind of getting there, but not as much. But yeah, it's one of those guys where it's how are you going to build around him if you're not figuring out like the needs that he needs. Essentially, he needs better forwards, in my opinion. But yeah, can't really do much about it. They were able to take him down, so I can't complain on it.
Yeah, and I think the other semi-alarming stat is that both teams shot 17 3-pointers.
Yes, and almost the same amount too. Bucks shot only 4 less. But yeah, it was very close scoring wise, just until the end of the game where the Bucks were able to take that end of the game run. But yeah, super similar scoring wise, shooting wise, I should say.
Which feels weird because, like you said, so Dallas took 17 of 41, I believe, and Milwaukee took 17 of 37. And, it was just there really wasn't much to add to this game. It was just really high octane offensively.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Giannis had a great game as he always does. Grayson Allen chipped in. But I don't know. It's just when you're watching a game like that, which happens once in a while, you're just like, Jesus.
Yeah, I feel like that's happening a lot in the NBA where you're getting like these we'll obviously see the Lakers game, but you're seeing like a lot of like all-star game type finishes where there's no defense at all. It's just all scoring, which happens. And a lot of people like complain about it, but I'd rather just see like guys making shots than just miss after miss after miss, like in the Knicks game.
Yeah, so obviously Milwaukee was able to win at the beginning of the week against Dallas, 124-115. So good win for them. Moving on to the next game. Now this game against the New York Knicks on Wednesday night infuriated me a little more because, first of all, neither team played well. I don't think Milwaukee's defense played particularly well. Just based on the fact that they allowed 19 offensive rebounds.
Yes, to like Mitchell Robinson. And that was like the only guy. He just kept snagging every single one of them.
11 from Mitchell Robinson. You let a guy like that, when you have Brook Lopez on the floor, and you let a guy like Mitchell Robinson, who, by the way, is a very athletic player, great player, but 11 offensive rebounds. You can't, if you're Brook Lopez, you can't allow a guy like Mitchell Robinson to consistently crash the boards, get the ball, dunk it against you. Against a guy who's been talked about as a dark horse defensive player of the year candidate. It just cannot happen.
And it was in positions where they should not be giving up these rebounds. It was like so many crucial spots in the game where they would hold them to a really good miss, and then they just got the ball right back and they would hit a three. And it was like, well, that defeated the entire purpose.
It'd be a three or like a Mitchell Robinson dunk.
Yes. Anything extra that was just nitpicky that ultimately, especially in the end of the game when they tied it up, where it was like the Thunder game earlier on where Javon Carter went off, but it was like those small plays lead to bigger plays for the other team.
But here's the other thing too, and we're going to show this in a second. This three from Grayson Allen essentially sealed the game because the game was tied 103-103, and then this three from Grayson Allen was able to seal the game with this three.
When he first shot that, I had very low hopes of that shot going in just because of how fast that play was going and just the situation. Obviously, like I trusted Grayson Allen of like almost all the guys on the team to shoot it, but it was like one of those shots where it's like, this is either going to be a swish or it's going to be like the worst back rim possible, and this is going to lead to a quick fast break bucket. But he snuck it right in the back of the net and they were able to hold down the game after that, scoring 3 more points, I think, just off of free throws, because the Knicks kept like fouling and taking timeouts with like 1.5 seconds left. I'm like, please just end the game. You're down by 6 points. You're not going to win.
That's some college stuff right there. When you just foul, you're down by 6 points, and you just keep fouling. I'm like, that infuriates me as a fan when a team does that. When they just keep fouling, I'm like, dude, come on, just end the game. Let's go.
Yeah, there was 2.5 seconds left, and the Knicks took a timeout down 6. And I was like, okay, like it's going to take you 1 second to shoot the ball. And like, I don't know. It was so annoying. I'm like, please just end this game. You lost.
Evan, come on. They're looking for confidence for the next game.
True. You never know until the buzzer rings.
Yeah. Hey, game's not over until the clock hits 0. But look, Grayson Allen's one of those guys for me where I feel very nervous for him taking the shot, because if it was Khris Middleton out there, which again we'll get to in a second, I'd be like, all right, perfect. I'm more confident Khris Middleton taking the shot, but Grayson Allen, I'm like, oh boy, a sinking feeling is going because on your team, you know the guys who are clutch and the guys who aren't particularly clutch.
Grayson Allen can hit a 3-pointer, but we don't know what he's like in like clutch situations. So that's why I was like a little 50-50 on that shot. Yeah,
exactly. So and give me a second here. Yeah. For sure, Grayson Allen taking that shot, I was like, if it was Drew or if it was Khris Middleton, I'd be like, okay, this is going to be perfect. But Grayson Allen, I'm like, oh boy. Even if Giannis were taking the shot, I'd be like, that'd be fine. But Grayson Allen would be like, oh, I don't know.
But that was a good shot though, and I'm glad he was like confident to take the shot just because it was more of a trustworthy possession, I think, for them, like giving him that opportunity, because it was right off of like a really quick handoff from Brook. I think kind of leading into a screen, so being able to hold him off to give him that extra like half second to get up a decent shot instead of just like a chuck up. But I'm glad he was able to hit that, because I think that brought a lot of confidence up, and it shows why, again, the Bucks should not trade Grayson Allen for Jay Crowder. And I will stand by it. I don't think it's going to happen anymore, but he really picked it up when those trade rumors went around. But again, really nerve-wracking game. 3-pointers were atrocious, but the Knicks were even more atrocious, only going 6 for 30. Bucks were 10 for 35, so not too much better. Not good at all, but it was still those couple 3-pointers kind of held them over than the Knicks.
And that's the other thing too, is that Milwaukee hadn't shot particularly well from 3 all game. They were it wasn't good. They weren't good, but the Knicks were even worse. So if I had to summarize this game in a quick sentence, it'd be, I don't think either team was good.
No, I don't either.
It was, well, both teams aren't playing particularly well, but let's see who makes a play at the end. Because look, Jalen Brunson just hit 2 free throws to tie the game. So to go for 103. So someone had to make a play, and luckily Grayson Allen was open, and he was obviously able to hit the shot. So really, other than the Mitchell Robinson 11 offensive rebounds and 19 total for New York, now really there wasn't anything that really stuck out to me. Again, Giannis had a big game.
Yep.
37, I believe.
Yes, 37.
So I mean, so really there wasn't anything that really stuck out to me as surprising. It was just with the last game against Dallas being offensively a huge offensive game. This game against New York was more a slugfest.
Yeah, it just kind of looked of who's going to make the 2 more baskets than the other team, because it was either whenever the Bucks scored, the Knicks scored, and vice versa, or it was whenever this team missed it, then it was 5 or 6 possessions in a row each team 3 and 3, where there'd be a missed shot or a turnover, and it was okay, someone's going to make a basket, and it's the whole game. We knew it was going to be someone's going to win by less than 10. There's no way they're just going to randomly push forward and go up double digits. But hey, the Bucks held them off, so I can't complain. A win is a win in my book.
Yeah. So moving on to the next game, because that game against New York was a slugfest. This game had similar vibes to the Dallas game, where there was a lot more offense. Bucks, unfortunately, unable to pull that game out yesterday, losing to LA 133-129. Had all the vibes to it. It was on ESPN, 6:30. That's the thing I was thinking about. When the Bucks play on national TV,
they don't
know what version of the Bucks I'm getting. I don't know if we're getting oh my God, this team could be a finals contender, or they're not ready for the big stage.
And it's always been like that too. And it's every time it's ESPN, it's they just randomly forget how to play basketball, or they have these dumb late games where they just cannot push through. And the Lakers or whatever team they're playing gives them so many opportunities. And it's nah, we'd rather just lose. And it's so annoying, because I was listening to this game on the radio for the first half because I was driving, and it just seemed when the Bucks scored, it took them maybe it seemed 5 seconds for them, the Lakers, to just score again, where they were able to just get right back up the floor. And it was, Middleton scores. And another 2 by Russell Westbrook. It was I'm still excited over the basket that the Bucks just made. But yeah, they went down by 14 really quick in the second. And then they kind of trimmed it down and then got it back up, took the lead, and then just the end game was atrocious.
Yeah.
I was losing at the restaurant that I was at. It was what I think annoyed me the most was how many shots they were allowing Anthony Davis and LeBron James to take. Because if you look at the Lakers roster, their team is basically Anthony Davis and LeBron James, starting wise. Obviously, you have Westbrook too, but shooting wise, it's those two. And the Bucks would tie it, and then all of a sudden, Anthony Davis is wide open for 3. Let's just leave him be, because he only has 40 points that game. So it was one of those things where it was just play defense and you have a chance to win. But they didn't, and then they lost. It was there's so many just at least contest them. Yeah. If Anthony Davis were to hit that late game 3, contested, I've been okay. That was a good shot. He made it, but he had all the day in the world to shoot that ball, and he made it.
the strategy against Anthony Davis was frustrating.
Yes.
Because stats-wise, he's not shooting well from the outside, particularly from three.
No, he only had 3 3-pointer attempts, and he made 2, and both of those were crucial.
So Brook Lopez kept running at him, and he did most of his damage from the paint.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, Brook, why you run? First of all, like, I don't care how many injuries Anthony Davis has suffered. Brook Lopez will never be more athletic than Anthony Davis.
No.
So the fact that they were running at him, and Anthony Davis was like, all right, fine, I'll just dunk this, or I'll like, do
right
most
around
of the damage to the paint. It was like, and even the announcers were like, why is Brook Lopez running at him? Like, just make him shoot the ball from the outside, and if he does, fine. If you contest it, fine. But like, he kept running at him. Anthony Davis like blew right past him, able to dunk the basketball. I'm like, what do you?
Yeah, it's kind of like a Joel Embiid situation with them, but just like you got centers and forwards that are clearly faster than them, or faster than Brook, and it really hurt them because he shot 27 shots total, subtracted 3 3-pointers, so 24 jump shots, dunks, anything like that. And he was hitting all of them. It seemed like he only missed 9 shots of his 27 that he took. So it was one of those things where it was like you can't guard them, and they're just going to continue to do the exact same thing because it worked the entire game.
Yeah, and it felt like Brook Lopez just forgot to be like in drop coverage, like just stay in drop coverage, like. So it felt like the Bucks got away from their defensive principles. Obviously, Anthony Davis and LeBron went off, but I think the other thing that needs to be addressed is Russell Westbrook looks improved from last year.
Yes, and I'm glad that he was able to take that bench role well, and it seems like it's working for him. He's obviously not scoring like 30-plus points or 25-plus points, but he seems more comfortable and seems more relaxed, and he's still like putting up rebound and assist numbers like he used to as well. So it's not like that dropped and it was just he's scoring 10, 15 points. He's still putting the assists and the rebounds up too. So I'm glad they found a role for him, just because seeing like the slander that he got, it's not worth it, especially looking at Mr. Triple-Double himself kind of thing, where you can't hate on Russell Westbrook no matter how bad of a year he has just because of the past that he has. But yeah, I'm glad they found a role for him on the bench and that he was able to take it. He's played 29 minutes, so it's not like he's lost 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. So he's still Russell Westbrook, just a different aspect that we haven't really seen from him.
Yeah, even on the defensive side, like when I saw him like being really physical with Giannis, I was like, where was this Russell Westbrook not years ago? Now, he did do a classic Russell Westbrook moment when he got into it with the fan.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that's, I can't even say anything at this point because like it's kind of funny to me just watching star athletes interact with fans.
Mm-hmm.
So people are like, well, Russell should just ignore it. I'm like, but we don't know what's said.
Yeah, you can't hear that.
And that's the thing is that, you don't know if it was a racial slur or it was a
which he's gotten in the past, unfortunately.
Profanity laced so we don't know. So people can't just the media can't just be like, well, he should just ignore it. Mm-hmm. Well, we don't know what's said, so it's kind of hard for us to be like, well, he just has to accept it. It's like, well, if he's not going in the stands, so it's just
he's not pulling a malice at the palace. He's
which by the way, if it's not gonna happen, it wouldn't happen now. But imagine if social media was around and up and coming when the Malice of the Palace happened.
Oof, I cannot imagine the posts and that would have been interesting to see.
Someone's gonna get it on Twitter. Just be like, it would just be a huge melee. But looking on from the Bucks side, like Giannis had 40 points, which didn't surprise me because I think like I said, Giannis he's just gonna have a big game no matter what. Drew Holiday dropped in 28, so I was pretty happy with that. Bobby dropped in 15. But I'm kind of bearing the lead here, and you projected this last week. Khris Middleton came back.
Yes, and they started him. I was not expecting him to start and play 27 minutes. So obviously his injury is a lot better than we all kind of expected it to be. I was thinking it was going to be more like a Pat situation where they play him for maybe like 15 minutes roughly. But yeah, they tossed him in the starting role. He seemed to do well, hit 3 3-pointers out of the 4 that he took, some assists, 17 points. So yeah, it looked like Khris Middleton's back. Obviously he'll get scoring, higher scoring later on, but he looked like he had been playing all year already. So that was good to see right away.
Yeah, he went 6 of 11 from the field. So, and that's what kind of felt to me yesterday is he scored 17, but I feel like it was a quiet 17.
Yes, just because you had a 40 and a 28-point performance also from your starters. So it kind of like pushes it back. But
yeah, and it felt like they didn't want to give him – like he was involved in the offense, but like not as involved as Khris Middleton usually is, where he's like taking guys off the dribble.
Yep.
So it kind of felt like, all right, well, we don't want him to carry the offensive scoring load, which compared to Giannis is probably like the second guy I'd say. But so he wasn't really taking guys off the dribble, and he wasn't doing what Khris Middleton normally does, which is take those turnaround shots, but. I think as the months go on, I think Khris Middleton starts to be a little more comfortable, I guess, playing basketball and being more in the offense. But, scoring 17 isn't bad for your first game back.
Yeah. And I would say the biggest takeaway from that, obviously, is seeing that the injury didn't really impact him a lot. He was still able to play almost 30 minutes. So it seemed like him being out, and I did see they posted or like a side view or whatever ad that they put on in the game that he actually did lose his father earlier in the month. So I think that's why he didn't play for a while, just because he was like dealing with that stuff too. So I felt like maybe he had been fine already, but with that family situation where they again pushed it back a while just to like make sure that he was ready to go. Again, unfortunate thing that happens, but it's good to see him like back on the court, feeling comfortable, and just ready to get back into Bucks basketball, because I think that's what a lot of the fans wanted to see, and especially him getting that starting role, just getting right back where he left off in the playoffs before he went down.
Yeah, and there was a stat yesterday where Milwaukee has only 10 or 11 losses with Khris Middleton when Khris Middleton, Jrue Holiday, and Giannis play. And here's another stat that's important. A team has never beaten Giannis, Khris Middleton, or Jrue Holiday when all three have played together in a playoff series.
Okay.
So if those three can stay healthy.
Yes.
Because nobody's beaten those three. And God forbid, if Khris Middleton were out there, we'd probably be beating the Celtics in last year's playoffs. But I think that's an important stat to know, because look, Milwaukee wins a lot of regular season games with those three, and when they usually get deep into the playoffs with those three. So I think that's important to note. It's great to have Khris Middleton back, because as much as I like Giannis, sometimes it can be a little tricky for him to always carry the offensive load.
Yeah, especially if you have a game where Giannis is like scoring like 15 to 20. We're kind of hoping that Khris can pick up that 30 to 35, kind of like flip the role for some of their scorings. Obviously 15 to 20 is a lot, but when it comes from Giannis, that's a good chunk of what he averages a game. So getting that random Khris Middleton, Michael Jordan type performance where he drops like 40 or 45 is always fun to see. So hopefully he can like come out some of those games and just hit every single shot he's taking, because those are the games where it really boosts their confidence and kind of like takes the weight off of Giannis and Jrue sometimes as well.
Speaking of Giannis, Evan, there was a passing of the torch moment that happened in yesterday's game, because it was the first time that I've seen this play in particular happen to LeBron James. If you saw it, you're going to see it in a second. Here we go.
And that wasn't just a block. That was a block. Because you get like one of those like little like glass tappers or like side shots. That was like Giannis was like looking down on him and just like volleyball spiked it. It's like one of those plays where it's like, how is that like humanly possible to have LeBron James or just any like high tier athlete like that running full motion, like toss up, but then one other guy is like, I'm going to one up you really quick. And he swatted that. It was really big, obviously being on LeBron James, so it gets a lot more attention. But that was a huge like respect moment, I think, between the two.
I've never seen that happen to LeBron James. Okay. You know those commercials that have been coming out where LeBron versus Father Time?
Yep.
I think Father Time's caught up to him on that one. When you get a guy like as young as Giannis pulling what LeBron used to do to cats 10 years ago, okay, that used to be his move.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron, when he had more athleticism, would just chase dudes down and just volleyball spike it off the backboard and give his team like another offensive possession. When Giannis did that to LeBron, I was like, LeBron should probably think about retiring. Like, honestly, I don't even think that he should wait until Bronny gets to the league. I would have retired after that moment because it's a younger league now. So when you're getting guys like Giannis who are volleyball spiking like the ball off the backboard, I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my Lord.
It's those like Home Alone moments where you're like it was crazy because then he also had that late game one on Anthony Davis too. Obviously it's still lost, but it was still a cool moment. But you can see so many plays from Giannis, and there are still so many things that he's done or hasn't done in a long time where you see it and it's just like, that's an athlete where it's like some of those things where it's like only a handful of these guys are like really pulling that off consistently. But then you see that one up play like that. It's always exciting to see.
Yeah. And I think later in the game, I think Brook Lopez then had one at Anthony Davis,
mm-hmm.
which gave that team an extra possession. I'm like, damn. So LeBron got stuffed.
Yep.
Anthony Davis got stuffed. And I was a little concerned for Brook Lopez because it looked like he was hurt after that play.
Mm-hmm.
I was worried that it could be a back injury, but it looks like he's fine. Damn, though. That was just like, I honestly think that was better than the block that LeBron had against Golden State back in 2016.
Off the glass?
Yeah, that was going up for a dunk and like Giannis is completely coming out of nowhere. But again, Giannis isn't human. Like plays like that, play he made against LeBron was insane. And then even go back a couple of years ago, that play he made against DeAndre Ayton, like that was like there's no other human or NBA player could have made the play that Giannis made.
No, I 100% agree, especially that one on Ayton, that quick turnaround, and then you're right there in the finals. Again, with that LeBron play too in the finals, also it's like some of those where it's like who's doing it at that time, like who's the best guy and who's going to be the one to be able to do that. And at that time it was LeBron, and now some of these plays are putting on Giannis and some of these other superstar type players.
I do have to stay with Giannis for a moment. Because we texted about this yesterday. I think Giannis's free throws are starting to get in his head again.
Yep. There was a little stint where he was going maybe like 8 and 10 or missing 2 or 3 shots, but yeah, now it's like back to square one, it seems like.
No, and it's like it feels like, so at the start of the season, it was one dribble, deep breath, and shoot. Now it's like, well, I don't even know what it was because I thought it was just practice the shot, get the ball, one dribble, shoot.
Yes, and a lot of his coaches have been telling him to like don't walk all the way to like the 3-point line, just stay there, get ready, and shoot the ball. And he did that, and it worked. And now it's the breath and the dribbling back, and he's taking too long. And like obviously we have like the countdowns and stuff, but like at that point it's like I would just start shooting it because you're giving them a lot of time to wait, and you're giving yourself a lot of time to just like sit there and wait and have people boo. And yeah, it's getting annoying at this point of how like inconsistent it's starting to get.
ESPN did him dirty with that ticker, though.
Yeah, it was.
As soon as I saw in the left-hand corner that ticker, that free throw ticker they had on it, I was, oh, come on, that's just dirty.
Yeah.
That's so bogus. And look, no, it's concerning because in the Lakers game yesterday, he got called on it for taking too long at the line. Oddly enough, yesterday, because Russell Westbrook brought it to their attention.
Yep.
Because he started
early on too.
Here's the thing. So he did a loud countdown, and he got like the refs, like, I don't think they gave him a tech, but they gave him like a delay a game. So they gave him like they gave Giannis another free throw, and he sunk two of those. But it is now taking too long because he's like taking a deep breath. He's doing all that.
Yeah, he gets the shoulder, he gets the dribbles, and then he does it again where it's like, okay, like Giannis, we love you, you're awesome, you won us a championship, but like let's shoot the free throw here.
Come on, guys.
It was different in the finals or like in that playoff run in 21 where he was like pushing 10 seconds, but now it's like a consistent like over 10 seconds where they could be calling it like almost every time.
It's weird though, they don't.
Like, I know, and it's like I feel like that should happen. I feel like that would help Giannis, like start calling them so he can realize how long he's actually taking. Obviously, we don't want that to happen, but like it might be better for him to be like, okay, yeah, maybe I am taking like an hour to shoot this free throw.
No, and the other concerning part is that, what happens when we get to the playoffs? Okay, Giannis isn't a good free throw shooter in the playoffs. So what happens when we get to the playoffs and all of a sudden, like the opposing crowd starts doing the countdown again? Like I can't live through that again.
I can't either. And the refs are going to start calling it too, just because it's the playoffs and it's like the moments and the situations that they're in where they're probably going to call it more than they would in the regular season. These coaches are going to freak out about it. Because I remember Caron Butler on the Heat called him out in that first series in 21 where it was, and they ended up calling it too. So something's got to change, and it's got to change quick before it gets later in the season and he's still iffy on his free throws when it could be game-changing situations. And I would also say you go, sorry.
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, hopefully that issue will work itself out.
And I would say like a big thing too, looking at like free throw wise, and like these games are annoying, and I would rather have just gotten blown out when the Lakers were making more shots than they were missing. But I looked back at the box score and I saw George Hill, Javon, and Wesley. Javon played 20 minutes, Wesley played 10, and George Hill played 9. All three of them had 0 points. George Hill didn't take a shot in 9 minutes. Javon missed 2 and 20, and Wesley missed 2 and 10. So it's like you get 2 baskets from both of those guys and you win that game.
Yeah.
And it's like one of those games where it's like it was so close and you can find really small things that could have led to a win. But yeah, it was like a really lack of offense on the bench. They had Bobby with 15 and Pat with 8, and then 3 zeros for 39 minutes combined. Jordan Noir didn't play. Not really sure why. But
well, we don't exactly know what we can get from Jordan Noir.
Yeah,
and that's the thing is he's gotten better. It's just game to game. I don't know what I'm getting from him.
Yep.
Like, I don't know if this is going to be the guy who's going to take like 7 shots and miss like 6 of them, or if he's going to like, continuously be a team guy, pass the basketball, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know what I'm getting. And it looks like, I don't know if Budenholzer's going to shrink his rotations, but because Marshawn his playing time is getting reduced. Jordan Noir didn't play yesterday. So I don't know. It could be one of those scenarios where probably neither of them are going to play, and they'll just like be fine with Pat Connaughton and Bobby Portis and Javon Carter coming off the bench. So who knows?
Yeah, it'll be interesting because I think Sandro and Marjan weren't on the bench. AJ Green was just because he's listed there, but I know they got Sandro in the G League right now, and he's been balling out like 25, 30-plus point games. So I hope they use him more, and hopefully Marjan comes back. Or I don't know if they'll be here for the game tonight against the Hornets, but hopefully in the near future they get some decent 7-10 minute games.
Yeah, and here's a nice little nugget that I just read. Bobby Portis has registered a double-double in each of his last 3 games.
Okay. Yeah, because he had a good start at the season. Then I think he missed like a few games where he didn't get it, but it's good to see that streak back. And it's, again, 10 rebounds. Typically, it's usually like 10 to 12 rebounds and 12 to 15 points. So consistent-wise, but it's been really helpful, I think, in the long run, especially the rebounding aspect, a lot more than the scoring.
And here's the other thing I got to bring up. So apparently, Anthony Davis credits his 44-point performance on a pregame pep talk with Aaron Rodgers. So
he is a Packers fan,
and I'm a Packers fan. So Aaron Rodgers is screwing me both ways. Okay. Packers haven't played well this season, and he's
helping the wrong player on the wrong team in the wrong sport. But I know AD is as a Packers fan, so it kind of makes sense. But come on, Aaron.
So not only is he just stabbing a bunch of Bucs players in the back by basically hyping up Anthony Davis, allowing him to go nuclear on us, then he's sitting courtside at the game with the owner's daughter.
Yes.
Okay. So
on his birthday, the little birthday boy.
It was his birthday too. So really, as soon as I saw Aaron Rodgers, I was like, "Oh, this guy." Let me tell you. And look, okay. And I'm just gonna bring this up for a sec. Okay. I don't like Aaron Rodgers. Okay. I haven't liked it the past 2 years. Okay. And you would think being a Packers fan, I should like all the players. Not true. I don't like Aaron Rodgers. Okay. And especially didn't like it after I read that story.
There's just so much more hate. We'll say that was the reason why they lost, and now we can like carry on with it. It wasn't bad performances from the Bucs. It was darn Aaron Rodgers.
No, yeah. So you know what? I don't want to see it. I don't want to see Aaron Rodgers. I don't care if he's a part owner. I don't care. Okay. I don't want to see him at any Bucs playoff games. Okay. You know what?
We'll take Bakhtiari over him.
I will. Okay. Yeah, I'll take David Bakhtiari chugging a beer over Aaron Rodgers any day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Any day of the week. Yeah, that made me so bad reading that. Evan, you got anything else?
No, they play the Hornets tonight. I think LaMelo Ball is still out. I'm gonna say the Bucs are gonna win this one. I'm hoping it could be like a game where they can be up near at the end, where you can get some garbage minutes from like the Thanasis and stuff. I'll say they'll win 115 to 97. I think it's going to be a bigger win.
So, and here's the thing against Charlotte, okay? First of all, I think they're going to win too, because I remember last year when they played, LaMelo Ball had a couple big games. It was in that back-to-back slate in February.
Yep.
LaMelo had massive games. I believe he's out with an ankle sprain.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, at this point, Charlotte's in full dumpster fire mode, which they finally reached because they were always good enough to be a play-in team, but they were never
like a 10 seed, and yeah,
it was like a 10 seed, and then they get blown out in the play-in tournament. Mm-hmm. Now they've fully reached full dumpster fire mode, and obviously that franchise has been reaching that for 10 years, even since Michael Jordan became the owner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they're going to win. And Milwaukee doesn't have an overly hard slate coming up at Orlando, then on Monday, and then at home to Sacramento on Wednesday, and then at Dallas on Friday. And then next Sunday, another matinee game at Houston.
hopefully they can go. I think they could probably sweep that. I feel like they can go on a little streak. They got to go on a streak because they got to catch up with Boston right now. No, Boston lost in overtime yesterday, but got to try to like get the Bucks winning on a winning streak to kind of like show Boston that they're still in it. Obviously, like 1 and 2 seed is not a whole difference, but it's nice to kind of like start shutting the Celtics down a little bit.
Yeah, and look, Milwaukee has not played Boston yet this season.
Nope.
So I am gearing. Whenever that matchup happens, you might have more information on it than I will. I'm gearing up for whenever Milwaukee plays Boston.
I think it might be Christmas.
Oh, it is Christmas.
That's right. They do play. It'll be in Boston. I think that's probably the first time. That would make the most sense. It's probably the Christmas game.
I hope so.
So Christmas in Boston, first time this season. Couple weeks.
Yep, at Boston, 4 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas Day. I'm gearing up for that.
Don't ruin my Christmas. When the Knicks randomly beat them a few years ago, but going to the Christmas game last year was a lot of fun. But I'm kind of mad they're away this year. But it's a real Christmas letdown if the Bucks don't win on Christmas.
The last time Milwaukee lost on Christmas, 2019 against the 76ers.
Yes.
That ruined my Christmas. Joel Embiid ruined my Christmas. Embiid ruined. And Furkan Korkmaz. Mm-hmm. Both those guys. Both of them ruined my Christmas.
Yep. It's those some of those random guys where it's like, thank you for ruining my day.
You know what? Well, let's just be glad that the Lakers waived Matt Ryan, because that could have been one of those other guys who went off against. Yeah,
kind of random, but yeah, he had that one big shot earlier in the season. But yeah, he's only been like, I think 9 for like 30 something. So it kind of made sense in the long run.
It did. So, all right, guys, thanks for tuning in. This has been the Milwaukee Bucks on Tap podcast, and we'll see you next week.